Hello, guys. Welcome to another edition of the talk show with Shepat Group. I'm Gil Slimnyoy, and here with me is
Kefe Collins.
Okay, we are going to be discussing today on a very amazing article we wrote. I thought it's wise to share it with you guys. So we are going to be discussing today about setting an ideal for ourselves and how we can unfold with it in order to attain a better success and a future for ourselves. So we'll proceed.
Okay. The idea of this show is that we take the article that we have written and we try to have a discussion on that article such that we get to have more meaning and extract more to say about what we wrote. It was writing it down gave us a condensed version of the idea, but talking it through might elaborate more on the idea and give us more things to share about it. So we'll read a section of the article, and then we'll have a brief conversation on it, and then we'll continue as such till the end. Let me start with the first paragraph. The title of the article itself is "Go Forward with Your Life by Setting an Ideal," or "Get Your Life Together by Setting an Ideal." The first paragraph, which says, every single one of us has a dream future. We subconsciously and sometimes in low fidelity know where we want to end up, the type of person and life we want to have. No one deliberately wants to choose a life of suffering, mediocrity, and poverty. But most often, we find ourselves far from where we want or thought our lives will end up. And if we do nothing, our future will in fact be in the same predicament, not as we thought or wanted it to be. We then end up missing the mark, and most often than not with consequences. The Bible makes mention of the fact that everyone has sinned, and that if anyone says he is without sin, he lies. Sin, which is derived from the Greek word hamartia, literally means miss the mark. In our case, we miss the mark of the ideal future we want to have for ourselves.
To elaborate more on that, what at times kill a lot of us, especially youths, in the context of setting our ideals and trying to develop ideas to grow, is that we become too vague and we do not have a clear path or a clear objective of even what we want to do exactly. Take for example, some people want to just say, this is what I want to be in future, like as if they're in primary school, for example, yeah. But that is not actually something concrete. So we need a lot of meticulous and thorough thinking to come out with the idea we want. We see that working from a vague dimension, we cannot achieve anything.
Yeah, and I would like to add some more weight to what he has said, which is very true. Like, we have a future, and most of the times, really, we have that little idea of where we want to go. But if we don't sit and we elaborate, we sit and we converse with ourselves how possible that future will be, what could lead us to that future, and all the nitty-gritty things that could build up to that ideal future, we will not know if that future is possible at least. And even if we know if that future is possible and we have not set it as clear to ourselves as possible, we'll be driving like beating around the wind, beating around the bush, because the activities in our lives will not correspond to that ideal that we want.
Exactly.
And it's more or less because that ideal hasn't been set. We just feel like, okay, a kind of vague ideal is like everybody wants to be rich in the future. But if you have not actually sat down to correspond that idea with your career, like, okay, this is the type of career I want to have. This is the type of person I want to be. This is the type of family I want to be in the future, to have in the future. If you don't sit down and elaborate and talk about it to yourself first, before expressing it to the world, you will not know what to aim at. And that's what it means by missing the mark at this particular point in time. You miss the mark not because you have the goal clearly in front of you, but because the goal is so vague, you don't know what to aim at. I think that's it.
Yeah. Thanks for enlightening on that more, Kefe.
Yeah.
We need to set an ideal for ourselves and embody it thoroughly.
That's the second paragraph, actually.
Why set an ideal for? If one might ask. Because having a mega low fidelity version of who we want to be is not good enough at all. We have to deliberately, consciously sit down and contemplate and decide, basing ourselves with our available resources and things at our disposition, to come out with what we really want, which can be realistically and where we want to end up in future. Developing such a high fidelity image of our ideals that we want creates for us a focal point, a direction, an aim which we want to shoot at and attain. No wonder Christ is such an ideal for Christians. We call Christians because they follow Christ. Let's reference Christ a little more again. Christ came down and became man so that the ideal which he sets should be realistic and not outside of the world or scope. So too, the ideals we want should be more realistic. And if everything were set in our path as we envision, we will definitely attain it.
Yeah, I think you have been throwing more light as you were reading the passage. But this paragraph is actually coming to emphasize the point that we have been trying to make in the first paragraph, which is what? The idea that we have to set for ourselves should be clear enough. We have to set the future ideal. You're going to school at this present moment and you want to be a software engineer. And that is a very courageous dream to have. But you have not sat down to be like, okay, what does it entail to be a software engineer? You yourself, you need to understand what that ideal entails so that it should be clear enough to you what is possible and what is not. The article talks about it being realistic, and it gives the example of Christ coming down from heaven, from God to being man, to elaborate and set an ideal, an example. The ideal should be, if for a start, it should be broken down into things that you yourself can attain. Because if you set something that is so unrealistic and fantasy, it makes even you lazy. Because you'll be like, okay, I want to be a billionaire.
It's too vague.
It's too vague. In as much as being a billionaire is something right now in this present world, a possibility. But if you don't start from somewhere like, okay, my current ideal self is, okay, I want to be a future millionaire. But starting from here, this is what I want to achieve. In the next 2-3 years, I want to be able to run a business that gives me at least 10,000 francs a day. That gives me a return, a profit of 10,000 francs a day. And this business will be towards this talent of mine which I have. A talent, maybe I speak well, maybe I have programming skills, I have this kind of skills. And from there, I leverage those skills now and I'm able to perhaps build upon those skills, build upon the money that I've raised to set up a business, a bigger business that is able to raise this. That is you sitting down and contemplating, okay, is this idea really possible? And can I break it down into reasonable steps that if I'm given everything that I've broken down into it, will I be able to attain that ideal? You get the point, right?
Yeah. Just to add more to what Kefe is sharing, what is coming to my mind is to emphasize on the fact that setting our ideas, we need to be smart.
Yeah.
They need to be specific. They need to be measurable. We need to be able to know that, okay, this is what I'm saying that I want to be. Like you're saying billionaire. To easily measure being a billionaire is too vague.
Yeah.
You set an idea that is like the smart house. After measurability, you look at the fact that you have to be accountable.
Yeah.
It has to be realistic, which we have emphasized on the article. That setting an ideal should be realistic. Don't set something that is not attainable. For example, you cannot set an ideal that is, you are maybe in the context of where we are or where you have grown, like the resources at your disposal, and then we set ideas that are too fanatic or too in utopic that we cannot really attain.
Exactly.
And you cannot just get up one morning and maybe you're at the age of 40 and your ideal is that you want to play at as an international player in a club. That kind of ideal is not very how can I say put it, attainable. So sorry, it's not realistic.
Yeah.
And then the last aspect of the smart is that you need to be time bound.
Exactly.
Setting your ideals should be time bound.
Exactly.
Don't set an idea that you are going to attain after 200 years, for example.
Exactly.
So yeah, it just coming more to emphasize on that aspect, that not to say much what Kefi has elaborated on. Setting your ideals should be a clear and thorough and meticulous task that we need to undertake. It is not you just get up and you get up in the morning and one morning you just start setting your ideas. It has to take a proper timing, a proper meticulous thinking and thought process. And you look at your skills, where your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats, and be able to now define that. Even look at your political, economical, social, and environmental aspects and say, if I pursue this task, this is what I can easily be.
Exactly. And before I read the next paragraph, I think it's what adding to what Gilles has said, which is that sometimes we really need to be we don't need to live our lives as if it is a passive life where anything can happen to us and we are okay with it. We need to take time and thoroughly plan for our lives. Why? Because a life that is not planned will take you anywhere. And that anywhere, most at times, you don't stumble on success. That is the given. You always stumble on failure.
Even on that, even you want to stumble, like what Pastor TD Jakes used to share, like you do some form of strategic stumbling.
Exactly.
Like if the thing is not the thing, it might lead you to the thing. Exactly. It's not that you just start and you're like on my own corner and then it happens.
Exactly the point that I was heading to, because they say shoot for the stars, and if you miss, you might hit the moon. Why? Because like what you've just said right now, you are strategic in the way you stumble, in such a way that if you don't meet your target, you at least meet something. And there's this thing about knowledge is never wasted, skills are never wasted, ambitions are never wasted. Why? Because if you set ambitions for yourself and you genuinely pursue it, there is no way that you end up being the same as you were. You would improve. You will find yourself in company of people who are far better off than where you were, the company of friends that you had before. And in building from those little steps, you find yourself succeeding even in things that you didn't have ambitions towards. Exactly. And those things add up to give you the ideal future that you might have. Sometimes it might be totally different from where you had, but it is closer to the exact thing that you set for yourself. All right, let me read the next paragraph. Now the next paragraph starts with, why embody our ideals? Why? Because if we want to attain our ideals, how else are we supposed to do it? We have to make it part of us so that we can clearly define what is in us, in our lives that will or should lead us to that ideal. We'll have to be willing to let go of the things that is not taking us closer to the aim, towards where we want to be. Imagine, for instance, that we have set an idea for our future life for ourselves, and part of it is to have a proper career as a surgeon that pays well. It is but obvious that having good grades while in school will push us a little closer to that. But currently, we are all party and fun, not studying properly and writing exams and passing the exams or failing them just for the passing's sake. It is obvious what we need to do. We need to cut up the parts of our lives for the ideal future we want, make sacrifices. And to mention, this whole article has actually been inspired a lot by Jordan Peterson. You can search him on YouTube and get to listen to most of his content. I think I can stop here and we elaborate a little.
Yeah, exactly, Kefi. Like, when I look at this paragraph of this article, like, I feel really touched because of the fact that even I myself, I fall prey to this kind of misguidance, that you are aiming to be like a surgeon, but you are there doing something that resembles but maybe a musician.
Exactly.
Or you see somebody want to be a musician and is not doing anything about song and the rest, and he expects that one day he will just get up and arrive there.
And to add to your point, I think it's very, very important. And the article, it talks about embodying our ideals. Like, if you have a clear and proper plan for your life, you need to make sure that that plan is consciously every day implemented. You're making progress every single day in the things you do. If you want to be a surgeon, you literally have no business hanging out with people who want to be, for example, how can I say, rock stars.
Yeah, of course.
You can hang out with them as a hobby, like that's something you like to do, you want to relax. But your main circle should be people who push you towards being that career. Embodying it, the passage talks about willing to let go of those things that are not pushing you towards. You cannot want to be a successful surgeon and then you are not working at improving on your grades while you are in school. It doesn't make sense. How are you going to be that? Obviously, there are certain people without very good grades. Obviously, grades are not the only thing. It's just we are trying to mention it as a quantifiable entity, a matrix that you can use to evaluate on that success.
Yeah, and then to come in with the fact that, like, at times too we don't go ahead because we are not willing to let go.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I know for sure that the law of of inertia in physics or the gravitational pull in physics says what goes on must come down. Yeah. And that's at times the situation that we find ourselves in. That anytime we want to take off for something good, some aspects keep pulling us back.
Yeah.
And to change from one law to another, you cannot break out from the law of inertia if you are not stepping into a higher law. Why do planes need a runway? Planes need a runway because they revamp their engines, get set, and they take off with that full energy so that they break out from the law of inertia or the gravitational pull and step into a higher law, maybe the law of thermodynamics, which keep them to be floating in the air. So this the article make mention of the fact that if things are letting you down, cut them off.
You have to cut them off.
Don't be tied down by things. Don't be tied down by your background. Don't be tied down by your family, where you come from, the community where you grew from. That since there's never a surgeon from this community, being a surgeon cannot be attained.
Sometimes our dreams can actually literally scare us. But we need to set them. And we need to embody them so much that even our friends will be like, man, this guy, you're so much pursuing your dreams. What if it fails? But what if it succeeds? You get it right. But anyways, let's just continue from where we ended in the article. Okay, it is obvious what we need to do. We need to cut off the parts of our lives for the ideal future life we want. We have to make sacrifices. We may want to succeed in life, but we binge watch movies and series, play video games, etc. Except that is part of what will make our ideal future life, becoming a movie director or something of that sort. We need to let go and cut off that lazy about. Let's again reference Christ. If anything is causing you to sin, cut it off. We need to cut off those things that are pulling us away from our ideal self, else they will drown us. As Jordan Peterson would say, let the dead wood burn off. Sometimes the dead wood might not just be our activities, but the type of company we keep, our friends. Once we start getting our life in order, some friends will certainly bail on us. We may not have the time to hang out and engage in the activities we used to. We should not try to force things and spend time trying to keep the company of friends. It will drown us.
Exactly, Kefe. We have already mentioned some of the aspects that you just concluded reading.
Yeah.
It actually reminds me of one of my friend Collins. which most of the time when you used to hang out in those days, at times he used to like, okay, I have a meeting. I have to get going. Like, we're like, whoa, this guy, you're such a nerd. Like, yeah, but it has actually paid off because there are certain decisions, there are certain milestones he has attained so far in his life because of the discipline he kept, which are things I admire though for everyone to always follow. And like, to conclude on that aspect, it should be said that birds of the same feathers flock together.
Exactly.
If you are keeping a circle of friends that is not in your domain, that cannot push you in one way or the other to lead you to grow to your particular point of or your target, your ideal, you need to let them go. Make those sacrifices. It might be painful. The fact that you grow up with somebody in the same neighborhood doesn't mean he is the person that you are going to constantly hang around with if he doesn't contribute towards your growth in any way.
And to add to what he said, I also think letting go of friends doesn't necessarily mean once you're trying to pursue a career in medicine, all your friends should, should be medical doctors or something of that sort. I think sometimes we have friends that are our support system. Those friends that, irrespective of what they are doing, they continue to push us. They push us to succeed. They are not those who will throw a fit when we don't want to go out partying. They are not those who would be angry at us for not taking a beer or two. But those who are like, okay, you have told us about your dream. What are you aiming at? What have you done so far? How may we help?
That takes us to the next paragraph of our article, which is towards the end. Let me read. Unfortunately, ideals are not always attained fully. But however, subversions or part of them might be attained, but not the whole. That's still okay. After all, though Christians follow Christ, no Christian has ever been like Christ. Christ was God and man for a reason. The beauty of it all is that we will always have something to look forward to. Every day, we wake up in the morning and we have a driving force. We will have something to judge our life towards. And if our life is not going the way we want, we immediately know what we need to do, which is to stop doing it. Get back on track. We will continue to make progress and improve. And as a matter of fact, affect the lives of those around us. Like this popular saying is always said, if you cannot run, you walk. If you cannot walk, you creep. If you cannot creep, you roll. For the point and essence is that you should keep moving.
You never stop moving.
And the movement is towards that ideal that we have set.
Exactly.
Not bailing down, not bailing out because we failed, but that continuous effort will lead us to something great. For if we put efforts to attain our ideal and the thing is not attained, it can lead us to something better. Even you look at the life of Steve Jobs, the Macintosh was not the original product or idea he had. I don't know whether it's the iPhone or the iPad, I don't know. But it's by trying something new and something like wow. Even the light bulb with Edison. Yeah. He did a lot of experiments. He had to do it maybe over 1,000 times, and at the end he succeeded. So, and the concluding part before you enter your discussion is that we should develop an ideal for ourselves as the capital and principal focus of our article. Make it so big that it can even scare the people around us. And why not us? Pursue it with everything we have got inside. Your time, your resources, your strength, your energy, and your all. And we'll be surprised. I really tell you guys, you'll be surprised where we'll lead you to.
Exactly, and I like the concluding phrase. I like the concluding phrase of our article. Why? Because it's not guaranteeing any success. It's telling us that the improvements will obviously pay off. Why? Because, as we said, if you keep moving, you'll not stay in the same location. If you keep climbing, you'll not stay where you were. And pursuing your ideal with everything you've got, with every single ounce of your strength, will definitely lead you to where you are. I know of, we talk about Jordan Peterson, whom his masterpiece, his biggest book that he wrote, took him 15 years to write. It's unheard of for somebody to pursue his so hard dream for that long. And especially for us youths now, we want just the immediate gratifications. We are not able or willing to delay that gratification to pursue that particular career, that particular ideal that we've set for our lives. We need to be able to make those sacrifices. If you feel like you're not good at a particular thing, but that thing is really needed for you to get to your ideal, you need to make out time to learn. Need to make out time to learn those skills, to make those friends, to enter those networks that will push you towards that ideal. And I think any effort you make towards that ideal will definitely pay off in the future.
Hello guys, once more. I would like to say this. If you have not yet set an ideal for yourself, this is a clarion call and a reminder that it's not yet too late. Set the ideal now. We never know. But as Kefe said, always make sure that you put in all in it, so that we are going to be marveled by the expectation and the outcome we are going to get from it. Stay tuned for more from the Shepat Group. We'll be coming on more with some exciting and wonderful episodes like this one and other podcast videos with our media platform. If you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe.
Yeah,
and remember to give the thumbs up.
And also leave a comment on the video on things you think we can talk about or ways we think we can improve on sharing this information with you. We'll be very happy to.
And even share your ideas.
Exactly.
Concerning
setting maybe get into the comments box and share your own ideas about setting an ideal for yourself. And if you've set an ideal and it has actually paid off, maybe give a testimony of how you went about it. You can help one or two people.
Say bye from us.
Bye.